we do concede. So much as I would love us to scrape a draw, I can't see a win for Ipswich. Much as I would love us to scrape a draw, and I guess maybe the defeat on Thursday night gives me a little bit of hope. If I'm being realistic, I think you might score 4 again for the third time, I think, so far at home this season. So I'm going to go for a 4-2 Spurs win. Hello everybody, my name is Seb Brown from the Blue Monday podcast. We are now in our 10th season covering Ipswich Town. The last 2 years have been an awful lot better than the previous 8. We put out 3 to 4 videos a week, and you can find us on Twitter at Blue Monday ITFC. We do a pre-match show, we do a predictions show, we have a Blue Monday rewind show where we look back on games between the two sides, and we have our flagship show which will be this coming Sunday. So for all you Spurs fans, please check it out. It will be either at 8 or 9 p.m. but on Sunday night, but you can find the details at Blue Monday ITFC. In terms of how the season has gone so far, we kind of have to be realistic. We are in the bottom 3. As of this afternoon, we are now the only Premier League side without a victory. But I think we have shown moments in games this season that we can be competitive. We had a bit of a free hit. The first game was Liverpool at home, closely followed by Man City away. No points taken from those 2 games, as you would expect. And then we've seen encouraging signs in a home game against Fulham, a 1-1 draw, a home game against Villa, a 2-2 draw. And then we had a couple of shockers. We went to the London Stadium to face West Ham, lost 4-1, didn't turn up at all, wasn't a very, very good performance. Followed that up with a really poor home defeat, 2-0 to Everton. Had a game against Brentford, a crazy basketball-style game, a 4-3 in the end with a 96th minute winner for Brentford. We went 2-0 up in that game. Got it back to 3-3 with minutes left, and unfortunately couldn't see that one across the line. And then last weekend, a game that most Town fans would have had penciled in for the first 3 points of the season against Leicester. Unfortunately, due to VAR and a 94th minute equaliser from Leicester, we still remain winless so far this season. So I think it's fair to say we have been competitive in 8 out of the 10 games we've played. But it's November. It's, you don't get that much time in the Premier League in terms of quick-fire games. We have to tick off the winless streak as soon as we can. We've got a difficult run starting now with Spurs on Sunday, Man United in 2 weeks' time after the international break, and then away to Forest before we play Palace and Wolves in what are looking like crucial games at the start of December. So, unfortunately, like I say, couldn't get the win so far that some of our performances probably have merited, but yeah, it's kind of to be expected. We've done this incredible journey with Kieran McKenna. He's been in charge now for coming up to 3 years, and he's basically transformed the club. What he's done has been nothing short of miraculous. He took over in December 2021. We had a takeover in April 2021. They kind of kept faith with our manager Paul Cook. He oversaw a huge influx and outgoings of players. He completely changed the club. I think it was 19 new arrivals and a similar number of departures. And he couldn't get us going. He kept saying he needed time to gel. The ownership group, when a takeover goes through, I think you have to be realistic. They always want to appoint their own man. It was a very brave appointment by Mark Ashton, who joined us when the takeover went through. He came in from Bristol City, and we haven't really looked back. McKenna came with incredibly high credentials. He was the Man United assistant manager under Jose Mourinho, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we saw for that first 6 months of his reign, kind of the second half of the 2021-2022 season, we could see some patterns of play starting to emerge. We could see how he wanted to play, passing out from the back, things that we hadn't seen as Ipswich fans for an awful long time. And then in his first full season, we really hit the ground running. We won we didn't win it, sorry. We automatic promotion from League One. It was a crazy 3-way shootout. Plymouth won the title. Us and Sheffield Wednesday were fighting out for second place. We had to get 98 points that season to get ourselves across the line. It went to the final day. And I guess when you're Ipswich Town in League One, a takeover, a big budget, you've gone and appointed a bright young manager, that's kind of the expectations. That's what you would expect from a club of our size at that level. But then to do what we did last season was still crazy. You know, as Town fans, we pinch ourselves. We thought we'd be competitive in the Championship, but I don't think even the most diehard Ipswich fans would have said to you that we will probably get, 96 points, end up going up second, straight up to the Premier League and go straight through, something that hasn't been done since Southampton in 2011. So an incredible manager. Links in the summer to Brighton, to Man United, to Chelsea. Thankfully, he signed a new long-term deal and stayed put. We have to be realistic. Even given our performances so far this season, he's still a very, very highly rated, highly regarded coach. And I think we just have to enjoy him for as long as he will be there. Our aims for this season are very straightforward. Give us 17th spot now and we would all snap your hand off. We don't really care how it comes. Just be slightly better than the side in 18th. Be that by +1 goal difference, points deductions for teams in the bottom three, whatever. We have to find a way to scrape to 17th to really give us that chance to look to push on. We have an incredibly progressive ownership group. We're owned by a company called Game Changer 20, who are backed by the Arizona Pension Fund, and these guys want to invest money in this football club. But obviously, we have FFP concerns, given we were in League One 2 years ago. And I think if you can make that bridge and make that step up into a second Premier League season and a third, a bit like what Nottingham Forest are doing now, you can really look to push on in this division and try and establish yourself. So that's all we can hope for. Finish 17th, get across the line somehow, and we'd all snap your hand off for that. In terms of Spurs and kind of how you've started the season, I think it's been a really solid start. I think before Thursday night, your Europa League kind of campaign was impressive. Beating Man City in the Carabao Cup was also impressive. I remember last year you got off this really, really impressive start. It was about this time, I think, last season when you were top of the league. I think you were unbeaten in the first 10, 1-8, I think you had. And Chelsea came to town, and it was that crazy game where you had 2 red cards, 2 sendings off, and you played that really high line all game and just kept catching Chelsea offside. And I really like the kind of football that Ange Postecoglou has got you guys playing. It's obviously completely different to what you had under Mourinho, under Conte, very briefly under Nuno Espirito Santo. And I guess for a club like Tottenham, you guys have designs on how you should play football. You think of some of the talents that Spurs have had over the years, the likes of Glenn Hoddle, for example. There are certain clubs that have clear playing styles. They weren't being adhered to under the previous managers, and I guess Postecoglou has got you kind of in there in that kind of style of football that you've come to expect and come to demand. I think although you've not hit the ground running as well as you did last season, annoyingly for us, these last few games, barring Thursday night where you did make a whole host of changes, obviously, you've kind of hit the ground running in the last few weeks. Very impressive 4-1 victory last weekend against Villa, so it's going to be a really, really tough game for Ipswich, let's be honest. In terms of how we've done for our 22 years outside of the Premier League, we were relegated in 2002. We flirted with the playoffs. We had a couple of playoffs campaign in the immediate aftermath of relegation. And then the money dried up. Key assets were sold. The money dried up. We had a takeover in 2007. And we kind of thought, here we go. This is our chance to once again get back to the Premier League. Back in the day when you could spend 10, 15, 20 million pounds and pretty much guarantee yourself an automatic promotion. But the takeover, the owner Marcus Evans, who appointed Roy Keane, didn't work at all. Appointed Paul Jewell, got ourselves in real relegation problems. Mick McCarthy came in, saved us, got us into the playoffs. We lost to Norwich, and then the owner simply turned off the tap in terms of funding. McCarthy kept us competitive, but a bit like you guys with Antonio Conte, with Jose Mourinho, that style of football starts to grate pretty quickly. And it wasn't really that much of a surprise that once McCarthy left, we inevitably fell into League One, and we were going nowhere. It has to be said. We were a club that was kind of pointless. We never did anything season upon season until this game changer group came in April 2021, and they've completely changed everything. And the club is totally, you can't recognise it from where we were 3 years ago. Same can be said about the town, about the stadium. They've spent money on infrastructure. They're about to launch a huge kind of upgrade of the training facilities. There's talks of stands being redeveloped. It's a great time to be an Ipswich fan, albeit a difficult time with the Premier League and where we find ourselves in the division. In terms of this fixture, my favourite memory is actually kind of parallel to this season. We did the double overview the year we got relegated in 2001-2002, and the game at White Hart Lane was just before Christmas, a couple of days before Christmas 2001, 1-0 down, and then Finidi George from that great Ajax team, we signed him in the previous summer. He got us level with an overhead kick, and then Alan Armstrong got us a very late winner. I think it was 88 minutes, and we hadn't won at that stage of the season since August. It was only our second victory of the season. We came up the year before, finished fifth, an incredible season, got ourselves into the what was then the UEFA Cup, now the Europa League, and we just couldn't manage the kind of the Thursday, Sunday schedules. But that win set us off on a real run of form. We ended up sort of winning 7 of the next 8 games, got ourselves up to 12th in the league, and thought we've cracked it, we're safe again for another season. But unfortunately, it didn't finish out that way, and we ended up getting relegated. But we did the double over Spurs that year, so that Alan Armstrong goal is always a great memory for me. In terms of Spurs and who we should look to fear, there's an Ipswich link with Brennan Johnson. Obviously, the man in form. Was it 7 goals in 7 games for club and country not too long ago? So he's got the equaliser after half-time last week against Aston Villa. His dad, David Johnson, was a striker for Ipswich in the late 90s and early noughties. So he's in great form, obviously. Dominic Solanke, with the quick-fire double, has started scoring goals. Heung-min Song, obviously, is a name that every kind of Premier League fan will know about. And there's just a raft of quality throughout your side. James Maddison has a bit of beef with Ipswich fans. He was obviously a fan favourite up the road at Norwich, scored against us in an East Anglian derby. I know he was rested for the Villa game, played in midweek in the Europa League, but if he comes back into the side, then he will have a point to prove against us. So those attacking players, Brennan Johnson, Kulusevski, James Maddison, Song, Solanke, they're the ones we really, really have to be careful of. And the kind of the pace and the relentless nature of which you attack, it's going to be a busy afternoon for the Ipswich defenders, I think, on Sunday. In terms of who kind of Spurs should look out for in terms of our players, there's 2 real standouts in this team so far this season. Liam Delap has got a lot of plaudits up front. He's young. We signed him from Man City. He spent last year on loan at Hull. He's got 5 goals so far this season. We signed him for £15 million in the summer, which is a lot for a player that had barely featured in the Premier League. But he's really come to the fore. He's so strong. He's powerful. He's direct. Once he gets going in terms of running up the pitch, he's very, very hard to knock off the ball. He scores all different kinds of goals. We've seen kind of finishes from close in. We've seen some long ranges. We've seen him simply just run down the centre of the pitch and unleash powerful shots. So he's a bit of an all-rounder. The other key player for us, got our goal, what should have been the winning goal against Leicester last weekend, is Leif Davis. He joined us in League One, kind of one of Kieran McKenna's first signings in the summer of 2022, and he's been on this journey with us throughout. And he holds the division, the championship and the League One kind of top assist maker for a fullback. His numbers have been incredible. It's something like 33 assists in 90 something odd games. It's a phenomenal kind of assist rate. Takes our set pieces. Was very close to an England call up. Didn't make the squad this time, but surely if he continues the way he started this season in the Premier League, he's kind of taken to it a bit like a duck to water. He will surely be in one of Thomas Tuchel's first squads. The other kind of player who also has been on with us this journey is Sam Morsey, one of our central midfield, kind of signed simply as a disruptor, as a midfield destroyer by Paul Cook back in the summer of 2021. And what Kieran McKenna has done to him in terms of his game is he's unrecognisable. He's now the one that will look to drop deep, pick the ball up off the goalkeeper, look to drive the standards, loves a big crossfield ball from kind of our right back channel to Leif Davis marauding down the left wing. We saw a number of goals towards the second half of that season come from that particular kind of partnership. And as I said, he will drive the standards with the town players. He's the one who'll be at them all game, and he's kind of stepped up to the Premier League pretty effortlessly, to be honest. In terms of kind of how are we expecting the game to go, I think we have to be realistic. We are a side that likes to play attractive football. We are passing out from the backside. I know you guys are incredibly high pressing. McKenna has spoken in his pre-match kind of press conference that you are one of the most intense teams, or if not the most intense team in the Premier League. And we have to kind of maybe adopt our strategy for that. Our goalkeeper, Aaron Muric, does like to pass the ball out to the centre halves or find the fullbacks or find Morsey dropping deep at the edge of the D. Maybe they will look to caveat that and go long, given your kind of, your attacking threats and the pace that you have in the final third of the pitch. But if not, we are passing out from the backside that will look to shift the ball from back to front pretty quickly. Leif Davis will bomb on down that left-hand side. Connor Chaplin's been playing in the number 10 recently. He's a great link-up player between the midfield and Liam Delap up front. And most of our goals do kind of come from the three behind the striker. Kind of the central striker makes space for those three and he kind of does the dirty work for them and lets them kind of get shots off. Where will Ipswich and Spurs finish? Well, as I said, hopefully, I know it's not looking great at the moment being the only winless side in the division. Hopefully, Ipswich will get across the line and finish 17th. In terms of Spurs, I think you've got a great shout of 4th. I think the top 3 is set. I know Arsenal, you won't like to hear this, obviously being Spurs. Arsenal aren't having an amazing season so far, but I would expect them to recover, and them, City and Liverpool, to take those top 3 positions. And then with the uncertainty at Man United, with Newcastle kind of being a bit hit and miss, I guess it comes down to either you or Chelsea for that 4th spot. And, if Solanke keeps scoring, if Brennan Johnson keeps scoring, I can't see any reason why potentially you couldn't get that 4th spot and have a decent go in the Europa League. I noticed you're the bookies' favourites for that particular competition, so hopefully Big Ange does always say he wins a trophy in his 2nd season. Maybe he can get across the line and win you that elusive bit of silverware. In terms of how I think we will line up on Sunday, Muric will be the goalkeeper. Ben Johnson will be the right back. We signed him on a free transfer from West Ham. He's probably our most experienced Premier League player with 50 to 60 odd appearances. The back 2 will be Dara O'Shea and Cameron Burgess. O'Shea is playing he's got a problem with a bone in his back, so if he were to drop out, it'll be local lad Luke Wolfenden, who again has been on the journey since League One, who's likely to come in. Leif Davis will be the left back, no doubt there. Calvin Phillips got a very contentious red card. 2 yellows against Leicester last weekend, so he won't play. He's suspended, which means sitting alongside Sam Morsey, likely to be Jens Kajust. We've got him on loan from Napoli for the season, full Swedish international. Looked good so far. He kind of brings a bit of pace, brings a bit of physicality to our centre mid, so likely that he will come in alongside Morsey. Connor Chaplin, as I said, will be the 10. To the right of him, most likely Amari Hutchinson, the star of the second half of last season. We had him on loan from Chelsea. He was probably the best attacking player in the Championship for the final couple of months of last season. We managed to make that deal permanent in the summer for £18-20 million. Been playing as the number 10 for most of the season so far, but has shifted across to the right due to injuries. So I expect him to start on that right-hand side. On the left, I think it was Sami Šmodić. He scored at Brentford, scored at Man City. Away from home, he's a bit of a pest. He'll kind of chase everything. He can win fouls. He's the kind of player that will wind the opposition crowd up. So I think that the kind of the atmosphere will be made for him. And then it'll be Liam Delap, I would expect, up front with that big physical presence and that kind of power, and look to really get us up the pitch. And it'll be a 4-2-3-1. As I said, passing out from the back. The left back, Leif Davis, normally will bomb on. Whether or not we kind of counter that given your threats, we're not entirely sure. If I go for a score prediction, I have to be realistic. You guys score an awful lot of goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We do concede. So much as I would love us to scrape a draw, I can't see a win for Ipswich. Much as I would love us to scrape a draw, and I guess maybe the defeat on Thursday night gives me a little bit of hope. If I'm being realistic, I think you might score 4 again for the 3rd time, I think, so far at home this season. So I'm going to go for a 4-2 Spurs win. Thank you to everybody for watching this video. As I said, at Blue Monday ITFC on Twitter for details of our shows. Our pre-match show discussing Spurs is out already, so please go and check that out. And our flagship show discussing the result will be after the game, either at 8 or 9 p.m. on Sunday night. Enjoy the game, everybody.